A top 10 upset in Charlottesville. We're in the second overtime. This is Chandler Morris. 5 touchdowns on the night for the Virginia quarterback to give the Cavaliers the lead. They go for 2 because you have to. 46-38. Florida State with a chance. Tommy Castellanos to the end zone to Deuce Robinson. Did he catch it? Did he have control? On the field, they say yeah. But does that matter? I guess. But they're going to look at it, and we're going to look at it. What do you got? You be the judge. He's bobbling. He's bobbling. Still not in control. He comes down with it. But did he have control of the football? Did he get a foot down? That kind of looks like a touchdown on Sundays. The ball's still moving a little bit there. They rule it incomplete. You see that slight movement right there. That is what the replay officials see. They say no touchdown, incomplete. So, 4th and goal. It comes down to this for Florida State, trying to keep their season perfect. We're in super slow-mo. It's a developing final play, I promise. They're reviewing. We're not reviewing. The game is over, okay? He throws to the end zone, and it's picked off. And it's incredible because Florida State came all the way back. They tied it in regulation on 4th and goal. And then look at the fans in Charlottesville. I mean, just swallowing up the field. Just a sea of kids. Hopefully nobody gets stampled. I've been in the middle of a couple of those things before. It can get wild. And a wild night for Mike Norvell because Florida State goes on the road and loses to unranked Virginia. Cavaliers come away with the victory 46-38. And man, you got to give Chandler Morris a tip of the cap. Had himself a day, kid. First Virginia player with 2 passing touchdowns and 3 rushing touchdowns since 2000. And Virginia with an upset on their home field against the number 8 team in the nation. Welcome in CBS Sports national college football reporter Brandon Marcello. Brandon, what the heck happened in Charlottesville on this night?
Well, there was no defense, number one, 54 yards of combined offense. But what really did Florida State in is nothing really that happened near the end. That'll be magnified, all the replay reviews. But the issue here is that they had 2 early turnovers and got in a 14-0 hole and were playing catch-up almost for the rest of the night. They took a brief lead, but then Virginia, credit to them, really bouncing back. And what happened tonight is Florida State's defense was really exposed. They did not tackle very well. There were some big hits in this game that Virginia was able to just spin out of or shed because Florida State just wasn't wrapping up tackling. So Florida State's got a lot of stuff to fix defensively. Offensively, they look like the number 1 offense in the country, just as they were entering this game. But let's not forget Virginia entering this game. I think everybody was downplaying them because they weren't ranked. They hadn't really played anybody. But they were top 5 in most offensive categories. And tonight they proved it against an ACC foe, a top 10 foe, and they get their only for 4th win against a top 10 team when they were unranked. An incredible game, a classic, a big moment, an historic moment for the Virginia Cavaliers.
Did you find yourself at one point in the night go, oh, they're going to rally, they're going to win, they're going to find a way? Did you find yourself saying that? Or you go, I don't know here, this Virginia team's pretty good?
I thought Florida State was going to rally and win it, especially when they reeled off those 21 unanswered points to take the 21-14 lead. I thought they were going to put their feet on their throats. Didn't happen. Chandler Morris led them right down the field to tie the game, and then they ended up taking the lead late in the 3rd quarter as well. And at that point, I thought Florida State was in trouble because Florida State was looking more gassed defensively. So not only were they able to not be able to wrap up on tackles, but then they were starting to get tired, and Chandler Morris was playing within himself. I think Tommy Castellanos, Florida State's quarterback, kind of went a little bit wild. He was trying to do a little bit too much there in the 4th quarter. Chandler Morris, though, played more in control and led them to the win as a result of this, but still an incredible game, back and forth. But what really did Florida State in here was those 2 early turnovers and playing behind 14-0 early and playing catch up for most of the rest of the night.
What did you think of that play in the end zone? Deuce Robinson bobbled it. They reviewed it. What did you think? I sort of see both sides. Maybe the football moved just slightly there at the end. What did you see?
Live, I thought it was a touchdown.
Yeah.
And then the replay review, I can understand why they did it. Great explanation on the transparency review by the new ACC's Game Operations Center. But live, I thought that play looked like a touchdown. They ruled it a touchdown. And just think, 15, 20 years ago, we want to be having this conversation right now. There's no replay. Florida State scores that touchdown, and maybe we're talking about them continuing on and on and on throughout the night here. But probably the right call. I could have went either way. I'm more lenient when it comes to whether it's a catch. It's almost like you give some style points because he had to get it with his fingertips. And I understand that after he was out of bounds, there was more movement. But to me, as long as the ball's right there and your fingertips are on it and it's in control and you don't see the ball moving too much before you go out of bounds, to me, that should be a touchdown. But I don't make the rules. The refs made the right decision after the replay based off of the rule book.
Well, we saw Randy Pittman Jr. in this game, right? The tight end. He threw a touchdown. He caught a touchdown, which is pretty incredible when you consider.
And also ran for one.
Right. I mean, pretty incredible. Passing touchdown, rushing touchdown, and receiving touchdown is pretty awesome, right? Like, when you consider that, there's only a couple other players have ever done that since 2000. So does Florida State have a quarterback problem now? Is Mike Norvell one game? What do we do here?
No, I think they're fine with Tommy Castellanos. The thing is that he's always been like this. You can make two incredible plays and then one boneheaded one. He was like that at Boston College. He's kind of that way. He'll be continuing to bat in Florida State. I thought the play calls tonight for him in that offense were pretty remarkable, save for a couple. Remember, they're late in the game. It didn't end up mattering, but late in the game on 4th and 1, Florida State's rushed for 250 yards almost on offense already, and they go under center, and instead of just running the ball for a first down, they roll him out and try to do a pass play and end up falling incomplete, and Virginia takes back over the ball. I think Gus Malzahn was probably overthinking himself a little bit, but still, it was those type of aggressive play calls that caught Virginia's defense off of their feet and were able to move the ball down the field consistently, including a couple of touchdown drives with some trickeration. But again, Virginia tonight didn't really have to rely on that. They played within themselves, and that identity is what carried them through. And the Cavaliers right now, man, they've been through a lot under head coach Tony Elliott, through off-the-field stuff with the player dying just a couple years ago to now they're 4-1, their best start since 2019. Why can't Virginia all of a sudden be an ACC contender? Why can't they contend with Miami to get not only in the ACC championship game, but win it? And the reason why I say that is because not because of their defense or that they're overall a great team, but because offensively, they came in the top 5 nationally, and they're going to exit tonight still in the top 5, if not better, after putting up nearly 500 yards of offense once again against Florida State. So Virginia, to me, you got to feel really good going forward here in the future. You got some issues defensively, but you beat Florida State, a team that looks very much like you with a great offense and maybe a suspect defense at times. But here's the other thing. How many more times is Virginia going to face an offense as explosive as Florida State's? They were number 1 in the nation entering tonight. There might be one more game on the schedule later this season against Miami where it's like that. Otherwise, Virginia's offense can go up against anybody and score probably against any defense out there in the ACC.
Well, you take a look at Virginia, and we had the schedule there, and we saw the one loss is to NC State. That's not a conference game. That was decided as a non-conference tilt. Because of scheduling.
Gotta love college football.
Right?
Gotta love college football.
Exactly. It's like, okay, they decided this wouldn't be a conference game. Okay, fine. So they're perfect in conference play. And if you look at their schedule rest of way, there's a little bit of resistance here, Brandon. But you're right. There's a chance that they could run the table if they play the way they played on this night.
You're exactly right. You look at the schedule. Do you see a loss there based off the way they played? Their toughest game is actually the next one, coming up against Louisville.
Yep.
Louisville, very good. Jeff Brom, probably one of the best coaches in the country, top 10 to me. Always has been since his Purdue days. But no one on that schedule really scares you. I mean, you got Washington State coming up in the non-conference, and they're struggling. Wake Forest struggling. Cal struggling. North Carolina, Bill Belichick has been an absolute disaster early in his career there. Virginia Tech fired their coach 3 weeks into the season. Why can't Virginia win out? Why can't they? You look at that schedule, they could do it.
Yeah, the same question can be asked of Florida State, but going to be a little bit tougher of a schedule as we saw their next game, a rival in Miami. do you think this game, or do you know this game, was a trap game for Florida State when you have Miami looming on the schedule? And what does this mean now for them at chances in winning the ACC and really overall trying to get a college football playoff spot?
Oh, certainly it was a trap game. It's a Friday night game. You're on the road. It's a different circumstance going in. Everybody's patting you on the back on campus there. You beat Alabama to open the season. Everybody thinks you're a top 10 team. But other than that one game, which obviously is a big one against Alabama, you haven't played anybody. You haven't been tested since that. So all you've been hearing for several weeks is, you guys are great. Thanks for taking us from 2-10 a year ago back into the top 10. By the way, talk about the ultimate of roller coasters for one program. Florida State goes from number 1 to being left out of the college football playoff completely after Jordan Travis gets injured at quarterback and winning the ACC championship game, to the next season going 2-10 and everybody writing them off, to all of a sudden opening their season against Alabama with a practically brand new roster and then jumping into the top 10 and then losing a Friday night game just a few weeks later there at Virginia. I don't think there's been a bigger roller coaster in modern college football history, especially since the NIL era started back in 2020.
Virginia hands Florida State its first loss of the season in a double overtime thriller. Last question. Have you ever seen students rush the field that quickly? Like, they're out. The students in Charlottesville must be running sprints pregame because they were on the field fast.
I haven't seen one that quickly, but there's a reason for it. There's no blockade there at the end zone. They're all sitting and standing on a grass berm. There's nothing keeping them from the field, so they were ready to go. There wasn't people jumping out of the stands, going through the bushes. I just hope everybody's okay, because as you saw there, Florida State and Virginia, they still had 2 players in the end zone on the ground when the players were hovering over them. Man, talk about a stampede, a little bit of a dangerous situation there potentially. That's why you see these fines for all this field storming. I'm sure Virginia will be handed one, but I'm sure that athletics department is going to be very, very happy to pay that. And by the way, speaking of money, the reason why Virginia's roster looks this way is because they invested in NIL very, very well here this offseason by getting those players that made big plays tonight. What a game. It's a classic. And once again, just shows you how quickly things can turn for one team or 2 teams in the same game in just a few weeks and in one season because of the NIL era.
Well, it pays off for Virginia. A raucous night in Charlottesville. Brandon Marcello here to wrap it up for us on CBS Sports HQ. Brandon, good to talk ball with you. Appreciate it. Enjoy your weekend. Probably going to be even more chaos as we get into Saturday. Wow. A thriller in Charlottesville, and Florida State goes into their stadium and loses in double overtime. And their next opponent is who? Miami. Miami, the favorite right now to win the ACC championship. Look at Virginia. They're on the board. I know you see Florida State still, but Virginia 18-1 odds and a statement win on Friday night, knocking off the number 8 team in the nation.